And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Pug Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
We're going to run this Q&A for probably about an hour. Big John's on the East Coast, so it's getting a little late. 78 years old. Bedtime.
Now I'm 78. I gained 3 years in 3 months.
I think it was, probably a couple weeks, actually.
Dog life, man.
Yeah, it's all right. Real quick, though, I want to let you guys know. ProWrestlingTees.com is where we have our weighing-in shirts, if you guys can. There's a discount code. It's called Madness, and it is 20% off our tees. If you guys go there now, use the code Madness. You'll get 20% off our weighing-in T-shirts.
Actually starts at midnight.
It actually starts at midnight. My apologies.
It may be midnight by the time this is up, though.
Yeah, it might be, okay? So, yeah,
Does
it
that
starts
start
at
at
midnight.
my time, too?
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, probably East Coast time.
Go,
So
right.
then, okay, there we go.
This cool thing called the internet.
Yeah, ProWrestlingTees.com, okay?
/ Josh Thompson.
/ Josh Thompson Official. Go to that website, pick up our weighing in T-shirt, 20% off. Use the code Madness. We would appreciate it. I've had a bunch of people hit us up, thankfully, and been like, "Hey, I want to get it." So, hey, just letting you guys know this discount code starts tonight at midnight. So hopefully you guys
That
pick
way,
them up.
when you walk around with it, people will know that is an intelligent man.
Yeah,
Or
that's
woman.
Very true, very true. And then also do us this favor. Do us a favor when you get the T-shirt, take a picture of yourself in it. Tag us in it on Instagram or on Twitter, and we'll repost it for you, okay? We appreciate the support. We do. We honestly, John and I really do. We truly appreciate it. And so much for Podcast Dave. No one really likes him. All right? Let's
I like you, Dave.
Also, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify. We're on Stitcher now, correct? Great.
Stitcher.
There you go. So we're on all the platforms, all the important platforms. Go to all those platforms, hit the subscribe buttons, okay? YouTube, hit the thumbs up. That shares our videos to everyone out there. Just want to get that in before we get started on this Q&A. First question, Podcast Dave.
All right. First question is coming from Steven Johnson, and he asks, "Hey, guys, I love this show. Where are your gyms located?"
You have something coming up in Sacramento, right, for refs. Am I right?
Hell no. But go ahead and give him the location of your gym, and I'll tell you what I got.
Okay. So my gym is in San Jose, California, in the Bay Area, probably one of the most expensive places to live in the whole world. And
it is?
Yes, it is. I am at 4424 Pearl Avenue in San Jose, California, on the south side of San Jose. And I own a fitness gym and a martial arts gym, and they are a little bit separate from each other. But I do kids martial arts, I do jiu-jitsu, kids kickboxing, kids MMA, and I also do adult jiu-jitsu as well as adult kickboxing. And on the fitness side, we do HIIT training, boot camp styles, and I do something called it is a rapid fire type class. We change the exercise every 20 seconds, and I do that for about 35 to 45 minutes. And you do a different exercise for 45 minutes every 20 seconds. That's what I call rapid fire. So those are my type of workouts that I do that have kind of got me through my fight training. I just made that into a gym, and I've had pretty good success with it. So
I call that exhaustion.
yes. Yeah.
Different exercise every 20 seconds. Come on, man.
Yep.
I need time to breathe.
Nah, that's for the weak.
I no longer have a gym since I moved. Got rid of the gym, sold the gym. It's gone. But I still do referee training courses. I do one a year. That is the command course. That will be coming up. International Fight Week in Vegas. I guess that's like second week of July now. So if you decide that you think you can be better than the other people and you say, I want to be an MMA referee or I want to be an MMA judge, or you just want to learn more about the sport, go to MMAreferee.com. Click on the links there. You can sign up for the classes. It's a 3-day course. It will be at Extreme Couture's in Las Vegas. And it is not easy. If you think you're good at the sport, that's great. Very difficult to pass. But if you do pass it, we put your name out where you start to be able to work with amateur programs. We set you up in ways that you can start actually being part of the sport.
So this is for referees, correct?
Referees and judges.
And you've had how many fighters come through there, and how many fighters now have officially made it past that?
Fighters that people would know?
Yes.
Guys, big name guys, I've probably had about close to 100.
And how many
Big
have
name
passed?
guys. After how many times?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, how many have finally got there?
About maybe 4 or 5.
Did
Not
Shaolin
very
do it
many.
through you?
Did who?
Shaolin. Ribeiro?
Shaolin did not go through me. No.
Okay.
No. Guys like, Frank Trigg and James Lee. I'm trying to think of, I'm going blank here now. I'm thinking, I'm picturing guys' faces, but a lot of guys from the early UFC, a lot of guys that fought, somewhere all the way up to about UFC 100, because now you still, guys are young. They're still trying to do stuff, but it's a matter of, Chris Lieben is the guy that I talk with a lot. He ended up going with to Herbs and started doing that. He got scared of mine. He goes, you fail too many people.
Yeah.
So
Hey.
that's okay. It's all about learning and understanding about the sport. And if you want to be an official, it's the way to start. You get rid of a lot of the bad things first. So since it's the sport keeps getting more difficult, it's not as, the old UFC stuff is gone. Everyone's watching now, and anything you do, they're going to complain about.
It's
So you got to know what to do.
It's under a magnifying glass.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Next question.
Yeah.
Let's
go.
I tried to keep this as fresh as possible for you guys. I know we've done this a few times in some of the questions. So this one comes from Jairo Ruiz, and he asks, the craziest backstage brawl story you've both been a part of? Question mark.
Backstage.
Can I
brawl.
list them?
Yeah. you would probably have more than those than I would.
Come on, you haven't even had a backstage brawl.
No. I've never been part of one, and honestly, I've never seen one backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
most of the time, most of the time it's not backstage. Most of the time it's at, there used to be after parties at the old UFCs. There was after parties, and, I'll give you one backstage. It wasn't a brawl, but we were in Japan, and Yoji Anju was a guy that kind of got famous for challenging Hickson, went to Hickson's school. There was a tape out there that showed Hickson. Hickson had the copy of it. He wouldn't give it to people. But Anjo went to Hickson's school saying that he wanted to fight Hickson. Hickson was at home. They called him. He comes in and says, "We're gonna get a tape. Whoever wins gets the tape." Well, we know who won. So they had a couple of pictures of Anjo lying on the ground in a pool of blood and stuff. But there was another guy that had a organization in Japan named Maeda, Akira Maeda, who had rings. He was in charge of rings, and he was a big-time pro wrestler also, along with Anjo. And they didn't like each other. And one time we were at a UFC, they're backstage, and all of a sudden I'm walking out, and I see Anjo just cold cock Maeda and hits him with a shot, cuts him over the eye, and I grab him, pick him up, and Anjo off of him, and pull him off because we don't need it. That's the whole thing, and he just broke it up. It was a real simple thing, but Maeda was very nice to me, man. He actually sent me this really nice ceremonial robe and everything for taking care of him, helping him when someone cold cocked him when he wasn't expecting it. So, but I would say the best brawl there ever was. Well, no, there's so many.
Yeah.
I had one time. It was Valij Ismail was he was chipping at Tank Abbott during the party, and as he's chipping at Tank Abbott, and Mark Coleman's there, and they go, and all of a sudden Valij throws a shot and punches at Tank, and they're kind of going, and then Mark Coleman goes crazy. So I pick up Mark, and he's drunk. I mean, he's drunk. And I pick him up, and I carry him all the way to the wall, and I put him against the wall, and he's pushing off of me and hit me. He's, let me go, all right. And I say, Mark, I can't let you go. Right? I said, you're the champ. I can't let you do this. You're going to get in trouble, right? And I'm holding him, right? And I'm thinking, this is a horrible position to be in. I got this great goddamn wrestler who could beat my ass, and I'm holding him against the wall, and he's screaming. He's hitting me while they're fighting behind me. So there was all kinds of things like that. But good times.
That's hilarious.
Good times.
Next question.
From Ryan Cairns 9, who do you guys believe is the Bellator GOAT? Or I guess you could say pound for pound maybe as well.
No, that's easy.
Yeah, for me, it's Patricio.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, Who's done the most? Who's been there the longest? Who's accomplished?
He's got the most
more
knockouts,
than anybody.
most finishes,
most
champ.
most fights. Yep.
2 different. Yeah, come on. And don't get me wrong, Lima's right there, but he just hasn't got to what Patricio's done because he's the champ.
That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, they're neck and neck with each other. I mean, realistically, it's whoever, but I have Patricio right now. I think it'll be for a while. Yeah.
It's gonna have to, for right now, what he's accomplished, everything.
No, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. And the only time he's lost, I guess one time he lost, it was in the tournament. But every other time was in a championship fight against, the best that they had. So
Who else? What else?
All right, from Zach Dzingnicki, Russian name.
Say that again.
No, thank you.
Do they not teach you how to read in Scotland?
But can you try and read this last name? Zdzin.
Okay, go right ahead.
He asks, what's one fight that you guys absolutely need to see this year?
Well, there's a couple fights. For me, I absolutely need to see the Khabib and Tony fight. It needs to happen. I'm hoping that it happens. I hope it gets there. I think that the expectations has been for so long. Khabib, with basically like being so dehydrated, not being able to make the fight, and then Tony tearing his knee, on a cable at a fucking presser or whatever, not even at a presser, at a radio interview or TV interview. Somewhere.
Media. It's a media day.
Yeah, and it was the week of the fight, just so random.
5 times.
Yeah,
that fight
unbelievable.
has gone down.
Unbelievable. So that fight to me,
4 or 5?
For sure, I need to see that fight. I think outside of that, I mean, there's not really much else. I mean, I really am seeing all the fights that I need to see right now. I mean, for me, if it was in the Bellator side, I don't know, man. I really just want to see Patricio in the finals, and I'm not looking past Pedro Cavallo. I really like him. I think he's extremely talented. I think he's got all the tools to beat Patricio. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think he's got all the tools to do it. But I think Patricio and AJ McKee, or Patricio, Darian looked good, but that doesn't excite me as much as the AJ McKee and Patricio fight. Young, new, fresh blood. Versus the old grizzled veteran, the champ. And
damn, you're making Darian that old?
No, not Darian. I'm talking about Patricio. Man. Patricio
yeah,
and AJ.
But I mean, you're saying the young guy, and that kind of puts Darian. He's the old guy.
Yeah, AJ.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
young guy gets the grizzled champion. Okay,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that I want to see that fight. I really do want to see that fight. So if a fight that needs to happen in the Bellator side, it'd be that fight. I think I can't think of another fight that really needs to happen on our side right now. Here, and I'm going to just blow. Some of you guys probably don't know them because they're mainly UK fighters. But to me, the fight that needs to happen is Van Steenis versus Fabian Edwards.
That's happening.
That fight needs to happen. That fight needs to happen. It needs to happen whenever the next, I think the London card, or maybe right shortly after, whatever next UK series is. That fight needs to happen. Those two guys are phenomenal athletes, and that fight to me is it kind of gets me, a little excited. It gets me excited. That's the fight that excites me. Both of them are very good on the feet. Both of them, Fabian's more of an anti-grappler, and Van Steenis is very good on the ground as well as good on the feet. I just like to see those two camps collide. You got the Gegard Mousasi camp, and Fabian Edwards camp with Leon and those guys. I mean, I'm excited to see that fight. Getting hot now, huh?
Stripping down. Boom.
Getting hot now, baby. Getting hot.
Yeah.
It's turning up in here. It's turning up. What about you, John?
I tell you, UFC, I think you hit the nail on the head with Khabib and Tony. Has to happen. It's because it's been so many times that thing has been set and scheduled and they're ready and something happens. Bad weight cut, tripping on cords, whatever. So that's a big one. I would say the other one that's got to happen, just because of the back and forth and just the skill set of both, Adesanya and John Jones, has to happen. I got to see that one. I would love to see that fight. Now I'm not sure about, what's going to happen with it, based upon certain elements, but they've had a lot of chipping going back and forth. I would really like to see that fight. Bellator side, wow, there's a couple that I think, really have to happen. I really would love to see, I want to see Tokov fight Gegard Mousasi. If Gegard wins the title, I want to see Tokov fight Gegard Mousasi. I think that would be an actually really good fight. I think it would be fun to watch and exciting. So that's a good one for me. Okay. And honestly, they're doing the other one I would like to see is going to be happening, and that's Bader versus Nemkov. I think it's a really good matchup. It's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, that to me is exciting as well. Yeah, Nemkov is.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah, he's good. He's big. He's good. He's physically strong all the way around. Bader's gonna have his hands full. That's gonna be a tough fight for him. Anything else? Nope. Next question.
Let's go.
Nimbo Nico asks, least favorite fighters you've ever reffed. That one's for John.
No, really?
And then, what do you miss about the octagon? Is there anything you miss about being a pro fighter for Josh?
Go ahead, John.
Man, least favorite fighter? I don't think there's a least favorite fighter, and it's not something I even think about. Yeah. Never even consider. A lot of people thought that I hated Tank Abbott. Didn't. Liked him. Had a good time with him. Did a lot of stuff with him. To
make it a bit easier, was there ever like a fighter that just made your job really difficult in the octagon?
They all make my job difficult, man. No. Yeah, there are guys. There's guys that what they do is they push the line of being fair and not following the rules, or just trying to cross the line on it.
Let's go, John. Give us names. Give us names, John.
I want names.
Give us names.
Chael Sonnen was one. But I always enjoyed, refereeing him. He was fun, But Chael, he would do stuff with his head, but he never crossed the line. So it was easy to say, oh, he hasn't done it. I would say if there's the one thing I hate when fighters try to use you as the excuse. And that's, Chael has done that, but he's done it off of, trying to get a fight back. It's kind of funny when he lost to Tito, and then he came out probably about a month after. And he says, the honest thing is Tito tapped. He verbally tapped on the guillotine that I had him, and John didn't hear it. And someone asked me that on Twitter, and my basic thing was, well, obviously, Chael listens to a different frequency than the rest of the world, And so then Chael came back with the hey, John needs to stay in his lane. He needs to know his place and stuff like that. And my wife got pissed. She's like, no. What the frick is it, right? And I'm like, don't worry, Chael's a good guy. Don't worry about it, right? Yeah. She goes, no, he's saying you missed something. I said he's trying to get a fight back.
Yeah. Don't
worry about it. So, I go to Hungary, and Chael's in Hungary, right? And said, hey, how's it going, right? He goes, hey, what's up, John? Say, this is my wife, Elaine. She's pissed at you for what did I do? What did I do, right? And she says the thing, and he's like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. And I said, hey, just do me a favor. Man, if you're going to say something like this, call me. Let me know, and I won't say anything in return. Yeah. I'll just let it go. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. And I said, but make it freaking at least believable.
Yeah.
And he goes, what do you mean? I said, dude, you said he verbally tapped while you had him in a guillotine choke. How do you talk when you're getting guillotine?
Joke.
Tell me. Right? He goes, good point.
Yeah.
He goes, so but you'll get guys, I had a problem with, I didn't know about the problem, but I had a problem with John Jones. Because I had bad energy.
Oh God.
And that whole thing was based upon, I had gone in the back of, you go in the back of, I had done his fight with Lyoto Machida. He was going to fight Vitor Belfort. I think we were in Toronto. And he had started doing this whole thing, Rashad Evans started kind of coming out on his hands and feet, kind of doing this spider crawl thing. And then John kind of started copying it. And we had just had a kid in a lower regional. He comes out like that, and a guy just kicks him right in the head. And as soon as the guy throws the kick, the guy's hands come up to defend, but it's not fast enough. He gets knocked out, and, hey, you lost. So I told him, I said, hey, be careful with, I've seen you starting to drag your hand. your natural inclination is if he throws that kick, that hand's going to come off to protect yourself. Just be smart. If you're going to think about doing it, don't. Right? Sure enough, he comes out, he drags his hand, and Vitor launches a kick. Boom, right by his head. And John looks at me like, what are you going to do about that? I said, you wanted to play the game. That's what you get. And I'm being honest. I'm looking at his hand, and as I'm seeing as the kick's going right, his hand's coming off. And if he'd have gotten kicked, it would have been a knockout. Yeah. And I'm thinking, you're just not that bright. So that would be what made him mad at me. And so I guess I'm the bad guy in that one.
It always works against us. What was the question for me?
What do you miss most about the octagon? Is there anything you miss about being a pro fighter?
Absolutely nothing. I have a really, really good job, and I'm so happy that I'm behind the microphone and talking about all these young, talented guys, and girls that are coming up. I couldn't ask for a better situation, honestly. When Paul Felder had talked about retiring, I'm like, yeah, you're so good. 34 is what we talked about. He's 34. Mm-hmm. He's got another 2 years, and I could understand he's got a good job. He works behind the mic. He does a great job, phenomenal job. But you're never at that age, I would regret it retiring at 36, 37, 34, 35. Yeah. I would regret it. And once those years are gone, you can't get them back.
You'll know when it's the time. When it's just not fun and it's agony to go in the gym. Hey, it's time. Figure out something else to do in life. But if you still enjoy it, you still get that rush, you're gonna miss it.
Yeah, I didn't like going to the gym all the time. I didn't love it as like I used to. I also got to the point where I never questioned my diet. I never questioned the things that I was, like missing out on. But I started questioning them as I got to like 39, 38, 39. I was like, this is not, I miss, you got to remember, when you're a fighter, when you're a professional fighter and you have a fight coming up, you're missing family weddings, you're missing nieces and nephews' birthdays, you're missing, sometimes you're missing your significant other's, birthday and Valentine's Day, whatever it is. You're missing those things. And let me just tell you, that's why I think for fighters it's very hard to have like a significant other. It's also very hard to not ruffle feathers with family members because you're not going to your nieces and nephews' birthdays party. You're missing family weddings, like you're there was a couple occasions I was lucky enough that the time that we had planned a Paris trip for my grandmother, I had just fought a couple weeks before that, but we had bought the ticket for my grandmother, 6 months in advance. But I didn't know I was going to get booked on that fight. And I was like, oh, thank God it was right before it. So it worked out perfectly. But had it been that week, I would have been stuck. There's no way. You can never miss an opportunity to make money. At that age, I had to fight as many times as I could and as often as I could to make as much money as I could. Because I knew it was not
getting a weekly paycheck.
No. And I knew the money wasn't going to last forever, and when you're done, that's the thing. When you're done, sure, I'm getting paid as an analyst now, but you're still not. What I would make in one fight is what I make pretty much for the year being an analyst. And so if I was fighting, there was times where I fought 4 times in a year. When I left the UFC and went to Bellator, I want to say I fought 4 times that year, and I made a ton of money. A lot of money, and it was just like. It was just one of those. I got lucky that it was towards the end of my career. I was able to make as much money as I could during that time and put a lot of it away. But it wasn't always like that. I went 18 months. When I was supposed to fight Gil for the second time, I got injured and broke my fibula, and I had to put a plate with 9 screws in it. And I kept re-breaking it above the plate, for 18 months. And every time the doctor said it was clear, go ahead and go. And I'd kick. Whap, it would break again above the plate. I'd go back to the doctor, back in a walking boot. 3 weeks later, he's like, okay, just don't kick for another 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, started kicking, whap, broke again. It kept breaking above the initial break. So
get rid of the plate.
Yeah, I should have. I should have got rid of the plate, but then that would have been the bone would have had to take time. They would have filled it with more bone, but it would have taken more time for it to heal. Another, say 3 months. And I would have been out. So I just kept thinking the fastest thing, just never worked out. What do I miss? I don't miss anything. I'm happy with exactly
what
where
about the
I am.
walkout?
No.
A walkout for Mel with Gil Melendez, first, second, or third fight.
Nope, never.
Raucous crowd. Nope.
Nope. I don't miss any of it. I don't miss.
Okay.
I don't miss the warm up in the back. You know what? If I was gonna miss one thing, I miss showing up to the arena. And when I showed up, because here's the thing, a majority of almost all my fights were in the SAP arena. I show up at that arena. The ushers all know me. The people at the door know me. Like I haven't fought in years there. I go to hockey games now there, and the ushers, Josh, can I get a picture? Josh, when are you fighting again? You know, they're all still really big fans. I miss those things. The casual fans that for years worked in that arena, that went there and watched me fight because they worked there. I miss those kind of things. That to me was important, and that's what I miss. If I was gonna miss anything, that'd be that. What else?
All right, so Robert Hart asks, who's the best MMA striker you've seen that doesn't need a feel-out process?
What do you mean, feel-out process?
Like, doesn't need like a kind of warm-up in the cage or whatever, you know, like doesn't take like a round or so to...
I just talked about that kid the other day that, I mean, I don't know how good he is at MMA, but he's been fighting MMA. He's 2-0 now in Bellator. Elias Boulade. He trains at SPG. He's with John Kavanaugh. He is freaking phenomenal. I mean, I know I've talked about him a lot these last couple days, but MMA wise, I mean, he got taken down. He put the guy in his guard. He was able to kind of work for some attacks. Didn't have much success. Well, and the round ended and was back up on his feet for the next round. He dominated the fight outside of that, and that was only for like maybe a minute on the ground, you know, in the third round. So he is nasty good on the feet. Now, I don't know how he'll do it when we put him against a wrestler, but I'm simply saying they came out, touched hands, and it was a kickboxing match from the get-go with MMA gloves. Phenomenal. That's the only guy that I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, you can take a look at Bellator has kickboxing also. Yeah. Especially in Europe, we do kickboxing there, and we've got world champions. And, you know, Denise Kielholtz is fighting MMA. In her last fight, take a look at her stand up against a really long, tall girl that just makes her look like an itty-bitty thing. And she just smoked her, man. Beautiful footwork, beautiful movement, heavy shots. Gabriel Varga, two-time Glory world champion, Bellator kickboxing champion, but he's new to MMA. If you're going to say the guy that's got the best striking and has accomplished the most with that striking, I would tell you it's Israel Adesanya.
Oh yeah,
you know,
very true.
But let's be honest, man. He's got an incredible kickboxing background. I reffed him when he was in Glory. You know, I did a world title fight with him, and he's just incredible as a kickboxer. And man, he has been able to just beautifully transition into MMA and keep a lot of the stuff that made him successful in the kickboxing ring with his stand-up. He does the same thing in MMA in a lot of situations, not everything, but I would say the guy that's done the best, it's him.
He's the guy that always picks like the guys that everyone knows. Of course you're gonna say Israel Adesanya. Come on, man. No, but very true. The guy's freaking absolutely amazing. Yeah. Next question.
From John Dobbs, he asks, "Hey guys, great show. Question: what's your opinion concerning the UFC's methods of letting individuals bounce between weight divisions for title shots, subsequently bumping the top 3 competitors away from the opportunity they deserve? I understand star power for profit," and he goes on to say something else that's not loaded, but that's the gist of the question.
What do I think of that? Let me tell you what I think of it. It's a business, and as a promotion and a business, their objective is to make money. They take the people that are stars, and they allow them to do that. If somebody who wasn't a star wanted to do that, they would tell them to fuck off.
No.
And that's what. They would tell them to continue to win your division and become champion. And if the numbers look good, we may potentially allow you to do it. But until then, don't come to us with this garbage and this waste of our time. It doesn't make any sense. It does for the fighter because the fighter is thinking, hey, me. Well, the promotion doesn't think you. They think me as well. So what works best for them? And, you know, it's worked for them. And I think it will continue to work for them as long as the people that are stars continue to produce great fights. You know, I mean, we've been subjected to some shitty fights before, but I think most of the fights that have done where the person has gone up in weight, they've ended up delivering. You know, TJ Dillashaw went down. Sure, it wasn't a great fight, but it still delivered. Henry Cejudo got a knockout. Henry Cejudo went up, and I think the Moraes fight and his fight was fucking absolutely amazing. Even though Moraes lost and Henry won, but it was the way it all played out. There was drama behind it. Cejudo got his ass kicked the first round, and he came back and made some adjustments and fucking came back and dominated the fight. Great job. I mean, those fights in the UFC where those guys have done that, they've delivered. Conor and Eddie Alvarez delivered. Like, every time they've had the opportunity to do that, the fight's delivered. And I think that they've hit the nail on the head when they've done it. And they've done it and they've chose wisely with the people they've done it with. You know, and I think Bellator's done the same thing. I mean, not so much, not with Masasi and Rory. It was a bad fight.
Did not deliver.
But the Chandler and the Patricio thing the buildup was great. The fight could have, I think, potentially went a little bit longer, but it was I thought, to me, when you look at it in slow motion, it was a good stoppage because he didn't have his hands covering all those things. I thought it was a good stoppage.
Understandable.
Yes, very understandable. But for me, it was because of so much history between Chandler and Patricky and now Patricio and all the drama and Chandler and Patricio calling each other out. I thought that fight was absolutely amazing. And when we allowed that to happen, I thought it was a good job. So, my 2 cents. I think the Lima fight and the Gegard fight would be a little bit different than the Rory and Gegard fight. But I don't know if it's going to be much different. You know, I'm a little hesitant to say too much. Yeah, who knows? Anyways, what would you say?
All depends on which Gegard shows up.
Very true.
I would say it's exactly what you're saying. It's about, this is a business and the business is about making money. And if you've got someone and really what you're talking about, you can bring up Henry Cejudo going in a couple weight classes, but you're talking about Conor. Yep. And every time that Conor has fought outside of that, 145, he bumped up to 155, and he actually bumped to 170 before that. That's when he lost to Diaz. And you look at the numbers that fight did, and you look at what was happening and how it happened and why, and Aldo pulling, having to pull out and everything. Just he's always delivered. He delivered the second time that he fought Nate. That was a great fight by both guys. A lot of heart shown, and that's what this is about. It's about making stars. Everyone looks at it's the promotion's job, to promote you and to build you. And it is. But it's also your job as the fighter. And you do that by having an interesting personality, being someone that people want to hear from, and putting on great fights. You do that, you're going to have a promotion that's going to get behind you and pump you. And it's, there's synergy to it. You've got to have, you can't think that it's all going to come from this side. You've got to put in just as much as you want from them.
Very true. Next question.
Carlo123 asks, what's the best way to prevent injuries for amateurs and pro fighters?
You guys, if you guys have a handle, please make easy names like that so Dave can pronounce it. Carlo123. Very good job. Very nice. Thank you, Carlo123.
Nice, Carlo, yes.
Thank you. Okay, what was the question?
Oh, my God. Are you going to remember it this time?
Yeah, CTE.
Best way to prevent injuries for amateurs and pro fighters, ?
I mean, realistically, spend more time drilling than sparring hard. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, look, not everything needs to be 110%. Spend more time slowing down and learning the technique and the drills.
Techniques.
Yeah, the techniques. Spend time drilling the technique with someone you flow well with. I think that's really important, as well as don't look for your cardio just strictly in hard sparring or hard grappling, because that's how injuries happen, especially as you get tired. Mistakes happen. You slip sometimes, if the mat gets real sweaty and you slip and you tear your knee, hurt your hip, whatever it is, things like that can happen. There was a couple of occasions where I double-legged someone. I was tired, exhausted. It was back in the Frank Shamrock days at AK, and I was getting tired and I was all sweaty, and I double-legged the guy and I slipped, and as I slipped, he went down. His head hit off the mat and bounced back up and split my lip wide open. You know, and right from that, and my tooth came all the way through. I literally had 14 stitches, 4 stitches on the inside, 14 stitches on the outside. You know, I mean, those type of things happen, but I should have never been grappling that match. Anyways, I was already kind of like sweaty. I was done. I was like done because that was our last round, and then I went and did that anyways. It's just one of those things where be smart. There's always tomorrow when you're fresh. You don't need to do that. It's always nice to say, oh, I did 1 extra round, did 2 extra rounds. Yeah, but do it with someone that you can flow with. You don't always have to go super hard. If you're going to go super hard on something, go hard on your sprints, you know, at the track. Go hard on your, you know, on your conditioning, your cardio, your workouts, whatever those things are. Go hard on those things, you know, on your strength and conditioning. You don't have to always go super hard inside the gym with someone you're training with. You know, you flow, drill, work with their techniques.
I would say work on techniques is the major thing. Mm-hmm. You have got to always be learning. If you want to get better, you need to continually learn new things, new ways of doing something, new ways of creating problems for somebody else. So that is called smart training. The other thing, if you're especially talking with amateurs, don't get into this. I lose a lot of weight. A lot of amateur fights and weigh-ins are day of. You're getting a day of weigh-in. You're going to fight that same day. Don't get into this thing where I got to be the bigger, stronger guy. Go in close to your normal weight. You're going to feel better. You're going to fight better, and you're going to be healthier, and that's going to help you in sustaining your career and moving forward.
We just talked about that. There was 3 knuckleheads on the Bellator card in Ireland, where Bellator does this thing. Like we're gonna say you're a 55-pound contracted weight. We will go ahead and submit the fact that you are someone who fights for us at 155, but you're gonna contract it weight at 160. There's no reason to cut the extra 5 pounds. We know you're a 55-pounder. We've seen you from before in your past fights. We've seen you make the weight. We know you can do it. You'll be at 160 for a contracted weight. No reason to struggle. Well, guess what? Those 3 knuckleheads missed weight, and they got on the scale, and they hit their purse. Dumb. Yeah. Just dumb. Like John's saying, why put your body through that, especially if you're an amateur where you do same-day weigh-ins? Just ridiculous. It's not even worth it. I wouldn't even recommend cutting 5 pounds because you weigh in the same day. Just whatever you woke up that morning.
Go to your weight.
That's what your weight class is. Yeah, that's smart. Good. Next one.
Next question is from Boston Chris. Bear with me here. Who do you want?
I've been bearing with you for years, bro.
Fuck off. Oh God, can we just fucking do John the rest of the night on the show?
Let's go.
Boston Chris asks, who do you want to see Colby Covington fight next? While waiting for the winner of George and Usman. I don't think anyone in that division has a chance of beating him other than the champ, obviously. I just want to see that rematch so bad. That fight was amazing. And from watching the first fight, I definitely see Colby winning the rematch. I think Usman will embarrass George. I think the question in there was, who do you want to see Colby fight while he waits for the title shot?
I mean, I don't... The only other guy I would really want to see him fight would be George.
Yeah. That's the one I wanted to see him fight, though.
I guess, I mean, realistically, I guess I could say Nate. You know, I mean, just because of submission-wise, there's a chance there. He'll for sure outstrike him. You know, there's that in there. Who is fighting T. Wood right now? Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards.
I would love to see that fight.
That, to me, would be a fucking great fight. If Leon's able to get past T. Wood, I would like to see Leon Edwards fight him.
Yep.
You know? And I don't think Colby beats him. I don't think Colby can beat him. I think Leon. I think if Leon gets past T. Wood, because stylistically T. Wood poses some threats to Leon, but Colby doesn't.
Yeah, I know you're friends with T. Wood.
Yeah.
I think that's not a good fight for T.
No, I don't think it's a good fight for him either. But I do think there's some chances in there for him to win.
There's chances, absolutely.
Yeah, and I also think though too that we're gonna see a little bit different of a T. Wood than we have seen his last two fights. Because he's just someone now, I feel like he's more refocused after all the talk about, you know, the money problems, you know, spent all of his money on trying to get his rap career going, other shit, dumb stuff. But I think, you know, him spending time in at Mike Swick's AKA down there in Thailand, getting refocused, getting back into the grind, and then coming back home, getting into a full camp. I feel like we're going to see a rejuvenated and a refocused T. Wood. And that's a dangerous person. He's a very dangerous person. I think Leon Edwards is a really bad matchup for him. And I tip my hat to both guys. Yep. But T. Wood does pose some threats to him. The speed, the wrestling, the agility, all those things that he has. But can he do it for I want to say they're the main event, right? For 5 rounds.
Oh, yeah, it's 5 rounds.
It's in London, correct?
Yep.
It's in the UK. But that to me, I'm going to favor Leon. Even though T. Wood is my boy, I'm going to favor Leon.
Yep.
But then after that, I'd like to see Colby fight Leon Edwards.
Yeah. The other fight I'd actually like to see Colby in, I'd like to see Colby and Stephen Thompson. I think it'd be a fun fight. It'd be interesting. Stephen's not easy to take down. You can look at his fights with, Tyron. So Colby's going to end up being on his feet again against a guy who is awkward, different than anybody he's really fought before. I think that would be a fun fight.
Interesting. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. I tip my hat to Stephen Thompson, man. He's come a long way since he first started, and he's so good, man. Good.
Yep.
His style works for him. Next.
Jesse Contreras asks, if you guys are Dana, would you trust Shevchenko to beat Ilima-Lei McFarland in a cross-promotion fight?
If I was Dana?
Shevchenko?
I guess if you were Dana or Big John.
Nasty good, man.
If you're saying, if I was Dana, would I trust Shevchenko to beat McFarland? Yes, she would be the favorite by far in that matchup. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
She's got a lot more experience, a lot more tools right now. You got to figure Ilima-Lei's what now, 11 or 12-0?
Yeah.
She's doing great, but she has not had the ring experience, the situational positions, and she hasn't had the level of competition overall in the career that Valentina has had. Valentina is special, man. She's I will tell you, skill wise, she is as skilled as any female fighter there is.
Yeah, I'd like to think that personally, I'm just off the cusp. She to me right now is in that talk of the pound for pound best MMA fighter right now. I think she's in that talk. She deserves it. She's number 2, maybe number 3. I mean, I think everyone who's number 1 right now. Jones is what they have. They have Jones being number 1.
Khabib.
Oh, Khabib. Okay, and rightfully so.
Jones number 2.
She's in that conversation though of Jones, Khabib. She's in that conversation with those two guys. It's John. Oh, it is John.
Khabib's 2,
which is ridiculous.
Whoa, last time. Okay, go to USA Today. Don't go off of
Dana White,
the UFC's crap.
Yeah.
Okay, go off of an independent, and Khabib is number 1.
Yeah, he should be number 1.
He should be number 1.
What is he, 28 or 29-0?
28. 28-0. Come on, man.
28-0, and I lost count, man, after like 25, 23. It's like it's just all bundled together now into like, okay, you're fucking undefeated. That's really what it comes down to. And here's the thing. I put her in that 1, 2, 3 category. She's in there. And sure, she has some losses, but you got to think about the people that she fought, man. Like Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes is she's extremely talented, and she's a lot smaller than Amanda Nunes. Yep. And she fought.
And you can take a look at those fights. Many people thought she won the title fight.
Yep.
And when she fought her in the 3-round fight, if that fight was a championship fight, it was going to be over.
Yeah.
She was coming on, and Amanda was exhausted. Now, Amanda has changed as a fighter, and she's way better as far as understanding how to pace herself. Her conditioning's better, all those things. But, her couple of losses, she had a loss to Liz Carmouche off of a cut that was and sometimes ringside physicians get kind of squeamish with female fighters. It's like, oh my God, they're cut. And it's like, come on, she's a fighter. Stop. They stopped that fight. Okay, I'm not going to say anything. I just did though. But then she's got the losses to Amanda, and both of those, man, it's not like Amanda got rid of her. She couldn't.
Yeah.
And she was right there with her the entire time. Very close fights. So she's a stud.
Yeah, she's in her natural weight class right now at 125.
Yep.
All right, next.
Ever Lopez asks, How will Bellator fix its lightweight division? Pitbull is busy with the featherweight Grand Prix. Should they have an interim belt in the meantime? Would a lightweight Grand Prix be a good idea?
This is what I'm okay. Shit.
I know what I would say.
I gotta say something. I gotta be careful how I word
All
this.
right, I'm gonna say this. I know nothing, so I think that they should actually have a lightweight Grand Prix. No champion in it. Unlike the other Grand Prix, because Patricio is currently in the featherweight Grand Prix, and he's got a ways to go. So start a lightweight Grand Prix. You got enough guys to do it, and then in the end, the person who comes out on top gets to face Patricio.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Except that I think we should do it a little bit differently. I think after this featherweight World Grand Prix happens, I think we have, I just think that we need to do something with the 125-pound women's division. We need to have a women's one. We've had 2 men's tournament now. We need to have a women's one. Let's do the 125-pound title.
This will be 3.
3. So
3 men.
Let's put the women's in there. Let's have them have their tournament time now as well. Okay, and let's see who ends up on top and who fights Alima McFarland, or if we put her in the tournament. I don't know. Let them deal with that. After that is done, I say you put. This is just after talking to Patricio, and you can verify this. You put both the Pitbull brothers into a lightweight tournament on opposite ends of the bracket. And what did Patricio tell you?
He told me straight out. He says, I think you ought to. If I'm going to defend my title, let me defend it against my brother. He says, we fight all the time in the gym. I'll fight him right now. He says, he's not going to win, but I'll fight him.
The bottom line is, put them at the other ends of the bracket. If they meet in the finals, you're going to have a great fight. I mean,
it'd be interesting.
It would be very interesting.
It's not the first, and it's not, in fact, it's not the first time brothers would have fought. In fact, they just had, I believe, in Kansas, they had 2 brothers that were twins that fought. I go, how do you judge that?
Jeez.
It's a mother, man.
Oh man, they would have had to have different colored gloves or shorts. You know, like, hey,
yeah,
you're in the red shorts, you're in the blue
both
shorts.
going in with black gloves, black shorts. Okay, we're screwed.
We're screwed, man. We're screwed. Yeah, I mean, I think they should do something with the 125-pound division, because we've signed so much new talent that's there. And I'd like to see that all come to fruition and see how that works out.
I like that.
And then after that gives Patricio time to enjoy him if he does win the championship, or keeps his championship for the featherweight tournament, to go on and defend his lightweight tournament after that. The other thing as well, as I think there has been some talks of a couple of the top lightweight guys potentially making a change, either whether to be the one or that are not happy with the UFC and the way things have kind of been held up with the lightweight division over there. So people have been buzzing and talking about how they, whether they want to test out the free market agency in one, or with Bellator, or what's the other one? PFL.
PFL.
Right now people are going to the PFL because I don't want to call it easy money, but it's one of those. It's never easy. It's never easy. But it's just, there's a big jump from the top 2 guys to the talent level at the below that. There's two really talented people, and then below that there's a big jump in the talent. So the same 2 people end up in the finals pretty much all the time. Outside of fluke knockouts. Anyways, next one.
Max K asks, hey guys, what's the most vicious knockout you've seen in person? To you in person, and to John while refereeing. So
come on,
or however you want to say in person.
The most vicious one that I've seen in person just so happened to be in the gym at AKA. Yeah, it was very unfortunate. Trevor Prangley was sparring with this guy named Nate Moore. Extremely talented wrestler.
I know Nate Moore.
Yeah, Nate Moore. Extremely talented wrestler from Purdue. Wrestled with John Fitch out there. Yeah. Extremely good wrestler / jiu-jitsu guy. He's very talented. They were sparring, getting ready for a fight, and Nate circled off, like in the end of the second round, I believe, circled off right into Trevor's head kick. And hands down, and just face planted on the mat, and was out cold. I mean, a little bit of the arms kind of went stiff, and Nate was never the same after that. He went off and fought. He went off and fought a couple more times after that, but he lost 2, and then he ended up fighting. God, what was his name? Nate Coy.
Yeah, Nathan Coy.
Yeah, Nathan Coy.
Nathan Coy.
Yeah, he ended up
from
beating,
up in Oregon.
Yep, ended up beating Nathan Coy. I guess apparently he had wrestled Nathan Coy in college, and he was able to beat him, but it was like a close match, and they kind of had this little thing with each other. They were cool, but it was like one of those things where they always battled with each other, and the fact that they ended up fighting and Nate beat him, but it was like before that, Nate was not the same for a little bit. He's a little chinny for a while, and it just never was the same. It goes like that, man. You take a shot like that. Yeah. That was probably the most brutal knockout that I think I've ever seen, in person.
So for me, I mean, which one of the thousands? Breaking them down, and I can go through a list. Tank Abbott had a couple. He had one against John Matua in UFC 6 that everyone should remember.
Yeah,
where he actually headbutted. They clashed heads. But headbutts were legal back then. And then he hits him with a right hand and jackhammers him, and he hits the ground, and his head hits the ground, and he is stiff, and his arms are up. So that was a bad one. He folded Steve Nelmark in half, hitting him up against the fence, and so everyone thought Steve Nelmark was dead. But I mean, I've had so many huge knockouts. Rich Franklin knocked out Nate Quarry in a middleweight championship fight that's been a highlight reel, and I feel bad for Nate every time I see it, but it was a bad knockout. I mean, I've had so many of them. It's, crazy what occurs. But I would tell you that one of the hardest shots that I've seen someone get hit with, when we were just talking about him, Patricky Pitbull against Mike Chandler.
Yeah.
Go back to, I can't remember what Bellator was like, it's probably somewhere around Bellator 150-something, 157 or something, but they were in St. Louis, and Michael Chandler landed a picture-perfect right hand that just starched. And that's when Patricio, Mike jumped up on the cage right above Patricio, and Patricio's looking up and says, I would have fought you.
Yeah.
That's kind of started the whole thing, because that was the second time that he beat Patricky.
Yeah.
And that was a huge knockout, big one. So, I mean, so many of them.
Yeah. Next one.
This is coming from a nameless person. How do you? That's not the. Sorry, this was sent to me a different way because the guy couldn't go on YouTube. Do you guys think that Eddie Hearn and Tyson Fury's representatives could convince Deontay Wilder to pass on a rematch clause with the promise to allow him the first fighter to challenge the winner of Fury Joshua for the undisputed, fully unified heavyweight championship?
Then it wouldn't be an automatic rematch clause anymore. And I think it would. I'm not sure, but it would probably void the automatic rematch clause if you decide to decline. Would. So you either have to take it or you don't.
One in the hand.
Yeah.
Or an offer over here that just sounds like, oh, it could be so good. No, you're not going to talk him out of it. That's not going to happen, because as soon as he gives up that automatic rematch clause, what has he got? He's got nada.
It's called dick. He's got dick.
Exactly. I was going to say that, and I was trying to be good.
Let me say
but
it
he's
for
holding
you.
Nothing but dick.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, there's nothing there. So Eddie Hearn can say what he wants. You got to figure that Tyson Fury's representative now is Bob Arum.
Yep.
All right. Eddie represents Anthony Joshua. Eddie's the man that is sitting out there right now holding on to what? Dick. Because he's got Anthony Joshua, but he doesn't really have that opponent that can make him that huge fight. They're both over here with Deontay and Tyson. So, yeah, I'm sure Eddie would love to do that. It ain't going to happen.
You don't think that fight's going to happen, Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua?
Oh, it'll eventually happen, but I think Deontay gets the automatic. He gets that rematch clause, so that's going to be where Tyson has to go first. He'll have to do that rematch with Deontay before that fight with Anthony Joshua can be made.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Deontay Wilder should take the fight. I don't think after his performance, and now he's going to change coaches. He's talking about letting him go, and he's being serious about it. I think I hate this. I've had a close friend that used to train with us. He's going to remain nameless, but he had a loss, and he was like starching people up until then. He had a loss, and all he did was blame Javier Mendez and our coaches and Bob Cook and everybody else. Ended up leaving the gym, never came back, and it bugged me to the, and I talked to him all the time not about it, but we had talked about, he just needed to move on for himself. But you can't blame everyone for your losses, man. Like at the end of the day, you got to take responsibility for yourself. There was never a fight that I went back and been like, you know what, you didn't fucking hold for me enough. You know what, you didn't corner me right. No, dude.
One of the best parts of fighting, one of the best parts of wrestling, when you step out into the mat, you step onto that cage. Hey, you get all the glory and you'll get all the blame.
Yep.
But you can try to put it off on whatever you want. Most of the time, it's just bullshit.
All the glory, all the blame, unless you're Diego Sanchez's coach. That dude's getting some blame right now.
He's popular, isn't he, man? He's a popular dude.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Welcome to the big times.
Yeah. Next one. Last one or two more? How much time you got, John? It's getting kind of late.
Forever.
Oh,
doesn't matter.
You want to ask your wife that. It's getting late.
Dude,
She's going to text us. She's going to text us, hey, get him off the damn fucking thing. All right, let's do it. We'll do a couple more.
Okay. From bikepacking in South Africa. This one pertains
South Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, that's his name. Bikepacking.
Backpacking.
Bikepacking. It says
bikepacking.
bike.
Yeah. Probably
bikepacking.
Mountain biking, probably.
Bikepacking in South
Africa.
America, actually. Sorry.
Oh, South
America. That's totally different.
You're proving my point that they don't teach people how to read in Scotland. Go ahead.
I have a different story for the reason, but I won't tell you right now. He asks, why don't refs accumulate fouls? If it's 3 different fouls they've never grouped together, they're always seen as separate. Surely this is wrong.
Wait, what?
Surely it's wrong. He's trying to say that if you have a foul, we'll say you get a guy who does an inside leg kick and touches the groin, that was a foul. We'll say the referee gives him a warning. And then we'll say that he gives him a warning for an eye poke and then a warning for the back of the head. Those are 3 different fouls. Surely those combine for a point deduction or grabbing of the fence or grabbing of the shorts or whatever you can say. Here's what people need to consider. If referees took points for every infraction, and that's what you got to think about. When you get stopped by the police, it's an infraction when they write you the ticket. It's not a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. It's an infraction, meaning it's no big deal. Yes, you might have to pay money. Okay, but when you're looking at MMA and the rule set and the fouls, what you're looking at is the taking of a point is kind of like in the NFL when you have that Hail Mary pass that goes from the 5-yard line all the way to the goal line, and they call pass interference, and they take that ball and they move it all the way down the field and put it down on the 1-yard line. That's a huge difference in that game, and taking a point is a huge difference when you just freely just take points in an MMA fight. I've heard all kinds of things about, it doesn't matter. As soon as there's a groin kick, there should be a point taken. As soon as there's an eye poke, there should be a point taken. Be a groin too. But it'll ruin your sport. All right. What you've got to look at, and I want to try to give you an idea. You have what we call cause and effect. Okay, was the action that caused, we'll say, the inside leg kick, normally, generally, usually, that ends up touching the person's groin based upon not actually the leg kick going there. It's the guy moves to start to avoid it and changes and comes into his opponent, and it comes up and hits him in the groin. So it's based upon 2 people and 2 sets of movement. So you're sitting there saying, well, who's at fault? Well, the one guy's throwing the technique, but the other guy actually moved his body kind of into the direction of where it's at. So you go by, how much effect does the foul have in the fight? You're going to see many times people are, they're getting taken down by the fence, and the guy grabs the cage, right? And you can hear the referee saying, let go of the kick, and all of a sudden, boom, and he's on his back, and the referee doesn't take a point. He's not taking a point because the fight ended up where it was going to end up. The foul had no impact in the actual fight, and so, yes, he fouled. Yes, he gets warned, but they're not going to take a point for that action because the fight ended up where the one fighter was trying to put it anyways. If you take a point in that situation, now you're altering the fight in a way that's just going to start messing it up. Many times you'll hear, they didn't even give him a warning. Referees don't have to give a warning before they take a point. Many times, and I took points for guys grabbing the fence to keep themselves from being taken down, even without a warning. I've given warnings and then taken points. Did it to Tito Ortiz against Rashad Evans. But I've done it where the guy grabs the fence and absolutely changes what was going to be a takedown, and I'll stop it, and I take 1 point from him because he altered the fight. He had a major effect on where that fight was going to be. So I'm going to take away something for him doing it. But to sit there and say you're going to add things up, it's always what has an actual big impact in the fight is what you start to consider taking points away from someone. If someone hits someone to the groin, like there was Ben Rothwell ended up fighting Stefan Struve and had the groin kicks, and the first one was nasty. I'm telling you right now, do I think he intended to do it? No. But did it have a major impact on Stefan Struve? Yes, I would have taken a point that very first time. There would have been no warning. The point would have been taken because you're trying to level the playing fields. Now I have a guy this guy fouled. This guy is now down here. I need to try to bring it back to where it's almost as level as I can make it. That's when you take points.
Got it. Next.
Crisco Frog asks, so do you guys have any under-the-radar prospects that have a chance at becoming champ? Any weight division you guys choose?
You brought up a guy. You said that he wasn't signed. He's over. Was he in Russia?
Yep.
I feel like we shouldn't even talk about him because I want Bellator to sign him. Maybe we won't talk about him. Look, for me, guys that I think that are talented, that are relatively, I guess not unknown, but to me, I'm a big fan of Van Steenis. I'm a big fan of Fabian Edwards. Sure, they're a little bit more known, but they're not quite there yet for those title shots. Those guys. That Oliver Enkamp kid that we just saw from Sweden, he's
Oliver's
good as well. He's good.
He's getting better too.
Yeah, he's got to work on his strength, his physical strength a little bit more. But he's really tall, long, and lanky. He does a lot of wasted movements. He needs to kind of stop with all this feng shui shit. I don't know what that is, but he was doing that in the cage. I'm like, all right, you gotta be careful because you go against someone good. Like I'm just simply saying, like a guy that has kickboxing like Israel Adesanya, he's gonna kick your fucking head off when you get into your rhythm, and all of a sudden you're decapitated.
Hard to fight without a head.
Yeah, it is. It is. Outside of that, I wouldn't say he's extremely good, but I was kind of impressed with that guy, Soren Bach. He is from Denmark, I believe.
Yep. Yeah.
He was talented as well. He just was able to kept taking down Terry Brazier, taking him down, mount, top position. Didn't get the finish, but Terry's pretty resilient. Like a couple of those guys, they're in there. You know what I mean? Like they're in there. I just gotta in terms, get into them as far as leaning into them and see exactly how much better they're gonna get as the competition gets a little bit better. I haven't quite seen that just yet. Inside the UFC. Well, the only person off the top of my head, just to be 100% honest, and everyone knows Islam Makhachev, and I'm going to say he, to me,
that was who I was going to say, damn it.
Yeah, he's the guy that's going to end up potentially taking Khabib's spot if Khabib decides to go to 170, which I think he will for one title shot after he beats Tony. But is Khabib's little cousin, Umar Nurmagomedov. So yeah, I think he's extremely talented. He's a hard worker. He is fucking really good on the feet. He has a very different style than Islam, and then a different style than Khabib. He has more of a Taekwondo style of stand-up mixed in with a little bit of his wrestling. But the kid is he is the kid that sits in front of you and says, Like, and I guess maybe because I'm being a little bit of a homer, he's like, you know, he always show me this, show me that. He just eager to learn. I mean, I want to say he's only 22 years old, 23 years old. He just got signed to the UFC. He'll be making his UFC debut. But he's very much, show me how you did this. Show me how you did that. Like, he did that to me nonstop. Even when I came into the gym to visit, and I wasn't even training. You know, he's like, I remember this move you did one time, and I watched the fight, and then can you show me how you do it and how you set it up? Young kid, talented. He's got all the best guys in the gym, and every time he sees me, he's always picking my brain. And you had talked about earlier about you're always trying. Once you stop trying to get better, you're gonna just fall away. You're done. And he just wants to know. He wants to absorb as much as he can. I think for him, he's definitely Islam, him, and I know there's other guys, but honestly, you caught me. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. You guys are just catching me off guard, but I feel like those are the guys that I feel like we should be keeping an eye out for.
Sounds good. It's good. Islam was the guy I was going to say, man, if you're going to look at a guy that's just a beast.
Yeah.
He's way better than people give him credit for, too. I mean, it's like he just is a monster.
Yeah.
That dude can do whatever he wants in a cage. He's good. So I would say the other guys, I think in Bellator, you got to look for Patchy Mix.
Oh, yeah.
Kid's freaking good, man. It's undefeated still, undefeated as an amateur, undefeated as a pro. I think that's a total now of 23 fights. He's just good. And then you look at wow, I don't know. It's tough in a couple of them. They're the featherweights. We've been doing the tournament, and Borch made a mistake against Caldwell. He's gonna come back, and he's gonna be very good.
Yeah.
He's got to learn how to deal with that loss, but it's no big deal. You made one mistake, learn from it, move on.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to actually have just a hell of a career. So it'll be fun to watch.
All right, next one. Come on, Dave.
You said two more. I didn't have another one ready.
I said couple more.
You're ridiculous, man.
No, I'm excited to see what happens with Patchy Mix.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. That's another tournament I think that we could do at 135 pounds. But I do agree that I think we should probably do it at 120 or 155 next if we did a girls 125-pound tournament. Anyways, there's so many things I think that we could do. Go ahead.
Kabir Bariana asks, what are your thoughts on the new proposed MMA gloves Rashad Evans previewed on JRE?
I didn't see them.
They're Trevor Whitman's gloves, I believe. Trevor Whitman has been designing gloves, and it's everything's about trying to take that hand. This goes back a long ways, and I have so many glove stories of how the gloves came about in the UFC. But John Awano was the only one when the Fertittas bought the UFC. They asked me. They said, who are we doing gloves with and stuff? And I said, well, this is the glove we've been using. We want to get someone that, is going to make gloves for us and stuff. So I kind of tried to help him and went out, and he went to Harbinger and Century because, Century had the Chuck Norris gloves. And then the only guy that responded to me was John Awano. He says, I'll make the gloves, right? He starts making gloves. He made UFC gloves for a long time until Century came back. Says, we'll give you a bigger thing. And so they took the Century. But those Century gloves are like a freaking piece of plywood. They're straight. And, it makes it, you actually have to work to close your hand comparative to work to open your hand. And we need a glove that is going to have, you don't have to be able to splay your fingers to be able to grapple. Your fingers can be in this position. Now, we're always going to have open gloves because we do grapple, and that is important. But, that curving of the glove, if you can make it where it naturally is curved to put your hand in it, now you've got to try to force it open. More people are going to be having their hands in a curved position, and it should help with eye pokes. And so anything that someone comes up with that is in that style that is going to help in possibly taking away the splayed finger thing away, I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea.
We got away from the Everlast gloves in Bellator, and they had the curved, and there was a lot of knockouts with those gloves. So, I I've noticed that. I really actually the gloves that I like the most were the Strikeforce ones.
Fairtex.
Yeah, the Fairtex ones, because they didn't have a big padding on them. They had a bigger wrist, not a big padding, but
they were sleeker.
They
actually they didn't have this big pad over the back of the hand.
No, and
it was narrowed down.
And the submissions were a lot, like you saw a lot more of the attacks with the submissions with them, and it just seemed like it flowed easier to get underneath the chin, either, like for rear nakeds. I felt like they were amazing. I wish we would bring those back. Those were my favorite gloves. I'm not trying to be biased either because I had a lot of success in them, but honestly, I put the UFC gloves on there. It felt so bulky, and even the Pride gloves, I had those. Those are good. Those were good gloves too, because the blue ones, they were shaped with that little bit of that.
Yeah, they shaped with that curve.
They shaped with that curve, and then they had the elastic thumb, so it never came off. Those, like Kiefer Crosby when he fought this last weekend, and against Furtado, he kept fucking around with his gloves because his fingers kept coming out, and I was like, fuck. I was like, what the? Yeah, he had to like adjust it, like it slid up to the tip of his finger. So I don't know if he wrapped his hand too much, and you get too much gauze, it kind of pushes the glove forward a little bit and can't get it over that gauze. And so I don't know if that's what the problem was, but yeah, he had some issues with the glove as well. So, but I really do like. I went back to the old Fairtex ones, or not Fairtex, Fairtex ones, and the Everlast ones. So those two I think are my two favorite ones, to be honest. Okay, one more. That's our last one.
Well, as an expert, I'd say that's his name. Well, as an expert, I'd say asks, do you think that since Ryan Hall, quote, can't get a fight lately, he should fight Kron Gracie just to get his name out there? It's a match made in heaven for grappling, and Hall still may rise in the rankings.
That's the only fight I want to fucking see him fight. I don't give a shit about him fighting anybody else. He's like, oh, none of the top 6 and 10 guys want to fight me. Fight Kron, man. Yeah, let's see it. Let's see it. Let's see exactly how fucking good you are on the ground. I don't think he has a damn chance.
Oh, he's good on the ground. Like, he's good on the ground.
No, he is.
Ryan Hall.
I've trained with him before.
Yeah, Ryan's good on the ground. Kron is special on the ground. Just that's one. I doubt that Kron has turned that fight down. So since Ryan keeps on saying that everyone's turning him down, I don't think Kron has turned that fight down. It's Kron in that. That's a good matchup. It would be but it's the same as they put. One of the fights, I did that I really want, it's those sometimes there's fights when you're going to the show, what the fights are, and you're going, I want that fight, I don't want that fight.
Yeah.
And it's but one of the fights I always wanted, they were putting Damian Maia and Gunnar Nelson together. And I wanted that fight, and I got it. And I was like, oh yeah. Because I just wanted to be close and see everything, right? And, and see how they set things up. And those kind of fights are important. It's great to see two really good, world-class grapplers in an MMA fight to see what they'll do. That's really cool. I would love to see that one. Yeah,
that's I said this. How many months ago did I say that? I said that's the fight. Right after Cub fought Kron and he beat him, I was like, that's the fight I want to see is Kron and Ryan Hall. Because I want to say that Kenny Florian put out this thing that saying, anybody in 145 pounds, we'll take him on, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll fight whatever. And I'm like, bro.
Well, Kenny had put out the thing, the people that could beat Khabib and Ryan was one of them.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. No. I want to see him fight Kron. I don't understand why the UFC hasn't jumped all over that. Maybe something's going on with Kron. He's been a little quiet also too on the social. Well, he's never been on the social media platform. He's just kind of there, but doesn't ever do anything on it. I think honestly that's the fight to make, to me, honestly.
A good one.
Anything else? No.
You can do one more if you want.
One more. I know. I keep dragging it. Sorry, John. One more. I'm addicted to this. I like this.
This one's probably a bit more for John anyway. Dana Walters asks, I think it was the second round that Felder landed a significant leg kick which sent Hooker to the ground. Why was that not considered a knockdown, and are leg kicks omitted from ever being a knockdown? Thanks.
Leg kicks are not always limited to not being a knockdown in kickboxing. What you're looking for, is if you have someone that gets kicked with a leg kick and it sweeps the leg out, it's not going to be considered a knockdown. They're going to allow the fighter to get back. They're going to you're going to see the referee take their hands and put their hands like that, saying slip, and then have the fighter get up. But if the fighter will say gets hit with that leg kick and they kind of stumble and they go down based upon the inability to now use the leg, the referee can call that as a knockdown. So, and you've seen that in MMA at times where fighters have actually been leg kicked to the point they can't stand up. Eddie Alvarez, when he first came over to the UFC, fights Donald Cerrone, and Cerrone leg kicked him to death to the point where Eddie could hardly stand up. And we've actually stopped fights based upon the fighter not being able to stand up on their legs, and it's a knockout. Okay? I know that sounds weird because he's not unconscious. It's his leg, but it's still considered a knockout. Same as a body shot, either by a kick, knee, or by a punch. That's a knockout if the fight gets stopped off of that blow. So it is possible, but most of the time when someone gets their leg kicked out, like Douglas Lima kicked the leg of Michael Venom Page out, swept it out, and his leg goes out and he falls to the ground. That wouldn't be considered a knockdown. That's a leg kick that swept the leg out, put him to the ground, but he ended up then knocking him out with the right hand as he got up.
Yes, he did.
Which was beautiful. So the kick itself was more of, and many times you're going to get kicks where a guy kicks while he's kicking and being off balance, they're going to hit the ground. It's not considered a knockdown blow.
It would only be, I think, considered a knockdown. Knockdown if from the damage of the kick, basically.
Yeah.
Like if you can see that the damage is there to the point where the guy has to sit down on his butt because he can't stand on it or put weight on it, that would be considered the knockdown.
Yep. That's a damaging blow, and that's gonna do very well for you in the fight.
All right, guys. Hey, I want to thank you guys for all your guys' fan questions. Please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up as well. Share our videos, content, all that stuff. Also, go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Josh Thompson Official. Use the promo code MADNESS, and you get 20% off of our weighing in t-shirts. Check them out. They're awesome. They're cool. Okay. Take pictures.
And everyone will think you are so intelligent by wearing it.
Yes.
At least I will.
Until they realize that Podcast Dave is our producer. Then take a picture of yourself wearing the shirt. Tweet us the picture or IG us the picture, and we'll repost for you. We appreciate all the support, you guys. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Real Punk, John McCarthy MMA, Podcast Dave.
Bingo.
And we thank you guys for your guys' questions, and we thank you guys for following us. Truly appreciate it. Share our content. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you guys later.